Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm Anthi of the Drawing Room in downtown New Bedford, and I'm thrilled to be joined with some special guests this evening for our virtual wine tasting of the Marquette Grape. With us this evening are Rob Russell of Westport Rivers. Hi, Rob. And Corey Nuffer, our rep from Westport Rivers. Hi, Corey. I'm in the wine room, chart room, our back sales room. Happy to be in downtown, and we're also joined by Liz Arago.
Hello.
Hi, Liz. Liz and I have been busy promoting the drawing room during these times, and she's been an integral part of helping us make these virtual events possible. I'm inside, and you guys are clearly outside in the vineyard, so I'm quite jealous, and it's nice and sunny right there. I've been in the office most of the day, but thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
So can you guys tell us a little bit about where you are right now? Because, you know, Anthi and I I'm in my condo, Anthi's in the drawing room, but you guys are standing amongst
grapevines, and we're both in the midst of Westport Rivers 80-acre vineyard. We're both in two different fields. Corey is in the field of Pinot Noir, and I am in between a field of Marquette and Pinamonye vines. And so I imagine that I'm here today to talk about Marquette mostly, which we kind of got into back in 2015. And we had two cold winters in a row. We had the winter of 14-15 and 15-16 was very cold, temperatures were -12. And in the field that I'm in, which the Marquette's planted in now, is actually our coldest field. And it used to be Pinot Noir.
Rob, what does that mean, the coldest field?
It's our lowest field. It's down by the Westport River. And so it, as a water is, air is kind of like water. Hot air rises, cold air sinks. And so it's in the bottom of the valley. And because of that, on these cold winter nights, which sometimes are still, when there's no breeze, the cold air tends to settle down here. And so we had kind of catastrophic failure of quite a few vines down here, which were older anyway. I mean, it was Pinot Noir was planted in the late 80s, so it was stuff that was 25 plus years old. And we decided that instead of continuing to struggle with it in this particular field, that we would throw it out. And we're wrestling with the idea of, when I say we, I'm talking about my brother Bill and I, who was making wine at the winery at that point. We were talking about that sort of quest for making a red wine in New England, and we chose Marquette because of its winter hardiness and its promise in the winery as well. There's some wineries up in Vermont that are doing quite well with it, which get quite a bit colder than we get here. Marquette, and actually planted another hybrid at the same time called Petite Pearl. They're both hardy to -25 to -30 Fahrenheit, which is much colder than we get in southeastern New England. And so we planted about 6 acres of Marquette and about 2.5 acres of Petite Pearl in 2015. And anybody who's watching, you saw the slide that Liz had up at the beginning of this. That easy to show again. So that's a row of Marquette from back in the middle to end of May, probably beginning of June. And if we make that go away now, and I'm just going to flip this computer around, and I'll just show you how much it grows. So this is what it looks like now. It's not the exact same row, but you can see the amount of growth that these vines put on through the growing season here. And the way we train Marquette on our trellis is it's a high wire. So we do our dormant pruning and tie it to a top wire here, and we force these shoots to grow down. And the row on this side,
Keep going.
It's okay.
This side here. Wait a minute. All right, here. Okay. This is really weird. One side, I don't know if you can tell or not. One side looks like a jungle, a little bit more manicured, and that's because we do a shoot positioning where we're actually moving catch wires down and forcing these shoots to grow down, and they grow down all the way back down to the ground again. And it takes quite a while to do that. This is a field we're partially finished with. And so all the fruit zone is
when everything.
Yes.
So correct me if I'm wrong, Rob, and this is just from my experience in the tasting room. Everything else that we've grown prior to the Marquette was on the vertical trellising system, which is not the Marquette.
VSP.
The VSP. So it doesn't sound like a big deal, but the Marquette looks very different, right? It looks like a T.
Yep.
And the vertical trellising system that we used to know only, I don't know if that helps at all. That's what, when we were giving tours, that's what we talk about. This is very nerdy stuff. So this is what Rob was talking about, where the vines are growing lower and you bring the canes up as they grow. And so when the Marquette came, this is super nerdy stuff. We were just excited that it was a new trellis system. So I remember driving out to where the Marquette was planted, which is like maybe a 2-minute drive from the tasting room. And we were all so excited for this alien looking trellis system. So
well, and this is the format to nerd out. So go for it, guys.
Yeah. Let it go, Rob.
Yeah. So Rob,
the Marquette is a hybrid grape, correct? Or hybrid vine. Can you?
It is. Do you want me to get into that?
Yes.
Or
explain to us sort of the history behind the Marquette, because I think a lot of us don't know. I certainly didn't know about it.
Well, when talking about grapes and they talk about hybrids, we're not talking about splicing rat genes in. It's an old process that's done by people that have usually got a screw loose. They're called grape breeders, and it takes it's a lifelong process that these people dedicate themselves to. And usually they're affiliated with universities. At Cornell, it's Bruce Rice. And basically what you're doing is, well, we propagate our own vines too. And when you propagate a vine, it's true to type if you take a dormant bud, and you grow it out. Like I'm standing in front of Pinamonye right now. I moved while you guys were talking. But we do a process called dormant bench grafting. It's done in the wintertime when the vines aren't growing. We take a cutting of a vine and graft it onto a cutting of another vine and force the two to callus together to form one vine. I'm about 100 feet from a nursery that's got a couple thousand of those in it. Maybe I'll walk over there later. But when you propagate a grapevine from a cutting, it's true to type. So if I take a Pinot Noir bud and I force it to grow, it's going to be Pinot Noir for the most part. There are some exceptions, but I won't go there.
You want to talk about why you have to do that with the bud and the...
Well, you were getting further off, but yeah. There are 79 species of grapevine varieties or cultivars. Almost all wine made in the world comes from one variety, one species, and it's called Vitis vinifera. And that's like the family. Different varieties, or like you would call them family members within that species, are things like Riesling, Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, Cabernet Sauvignon, Zinfandel, Merlot. You can go on and on. Those are all family members of the Vinifera species, which is native to Mediterranean Europe. One of many of the other species, well, say for instance, like Labrusca, is native to North America, and some varieties that are of that species would be things like Niagara, Concord, Delaware, Duchess. Those are all Native American varieties. And in the 18th century, there was people like, had immigrated to the United States, or maybe 17th century, that were started making wine from these varieties. And what they all noticed was that the wine tasted very differently, and had different, very, very different characteristics, and it was deemed basically inferior to what they were used to be drinking in Europe. And so they started importing these Vitis vinifera grapes, or cuttings, or small plants from Europe, and planting them, only to find that they would die. And the reason why they would die was because there's a root louse called phylloxera, which is native to North America, that the Vitis labrusca vines are resistant to, but the Vitis vinifera vines are susceptible to.
Oh, wow.
And unfortunately, the tragedy lies in that at the same time, these boats were also bringing these Native American varieties over to Europe and planting them there. And unbeknownst to them, bringing the root louse with them, and all the vineyards died in Europe in the middle 1800s. And there was
It was
panic
catastrophic.
ensued. And they came up with a multitude of different solutions to this. One solution was to take, say, these Native American vines and force them to grow down and build a root system. And they would graft one bud of vinifera on the top of it and allow that to grow up. So you'd have a Chardonnay plant that had American roots that were resistant to phylloxera, and then it would thrive again. So that's how the grafting process got into play in grape vines. Another.
So that's totally fascinating. So thank you for geeking out.
So,
Yeah, that's fascinating.
People don't know about all the work it takes to do that.
Yeah.
I'm making a full circle here. Now,
Yeah.
the other solutions that they had was they started to hybridize grapes. And the French were the first ones to do that. They call them French hybrids. And how do you do that? Well, you basically take a cluster. In general, grapevines are asexual, so they're self-pollinating. You don't need, this is a cluster of grapes. You don't need you don't need bees to pollinate or any insects to pollinate. It's self-pollinate. But what they'll do is they would pick off the anthers off the pistil of the flowers. This is already flowered, so I really can't, it's not a good example of what they'd be doing. But they would pick the anthers off, and they would then sprinkle, they would take a cluster off another plant, and they would kind of sprinkle it around, trying to get the pollen from the flowers on the other plant onto that, and then they put it in a bag, and that would pollinate itself. And then you would have flowers that had come together from two different varieties, and they would allow that cluster to grow and the seeds inside the fruit to mature. And at the end of the season, they would harvest that individual cluster. They would take the seeds from the berries, and then they would grow small plants. And they still do this today in their research. These grape breeders, they grow small plants, and now they shortcut it because they can do DNA testing. When they have enough plant material from the small baby plant, they'll take it out, send it out for DNA testing. And what they're looking for is they're looking for all the properties of the great wine quality, say of Pinot Noir or Chardonnay, but then with the resistance of some of these other species of grapes towards powdery mildew, downy mildew, botrytis, black rot, phomopsis, anthracnose. These are all diseases that vinifera are susceptible to, that some of the other species are less susceptible to. So to get back to Marquette has a complex parentage of 8 different species blended together. And So, and it's also it's good wine quality. It's winter hardy. It's susceptible to. I mean, it's resistant to powdery mildew, downy mildew, phomopsis. It is somewhat susceptible to botrytis, but it has a lot of good properties, which will all help us grow it here. But most importantly, being in our coldest site, it's more winter hardy than we need it to be, and it also ripens up early. We have a cool, somewhat short season here. It's long being on the coast, but in general, it's compared to say warm growing region, it's a shorter season than they would have. This ripens up for us in September, so we still have plenty of time at the end of the season to pick.
Rob, you mentioned that you're in a cooler or the coolest part of the vineyard. How many different areas are like little microclimates are in the 80 acres of vines?
Many. Dozens. It all depends upon soil type, the lay of the land, the vines that we have growing in the field. But every field's got different issues going on with it.
So every field. So how many fields are there?
There's really basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 large fields that make up the 80 acres.
And is a field basically just vines that are kind of separated from other fields?
Yeah, and it's also, the soil types change in the different fields. The field that I'm in right now, where the Marquette is, actually is a reclaimed field that used to be a gravel pit. So when they were done, the owners before us were the Smiths. When they were done taking gravel out, they had windrowed all their topsoil. They took it and they pushed it back on top of the subsoil, which makes for not an awesome field. It's a difficult field to grow things in. Permanently irrigated, and we put a lot of compost down to try to rebuild the soils. But it actually works out pretty good because Marquette, as you could see, is a very vigorous vine, and so the thin soil helps slow it down somewhat.
Okay, and I don't think people know that you have been farming all of this since when?
My parents bought this in 1982, and we started farming it in 1985.
So I thought it was around there. I just wanted to make sure. I just love that it's over 30 years that you've gotten to know this 80 acres so well that there are dozens of little microclimates within here.
Well, there's 80,000 something vines, and so we've dug a lot of holes.
80 how much?
Yeah, around 80,000 addresses.
80,000 vines.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then just to add a little bit to what happened in 2015, which is why we have the Marquette. My experience is working in the tasting room and in sales. So I remember the blizzard like how warm it got that February. I think it was around, I don't know, Rob, was it over 60 degrees? And then the next day a blizzard hit and it got down to like negative 33 wind chill.
I don't know if it was that quick. I don't remember. Possibly.
Okay. I was doing a wine trivia night that night. And I remember it was on Valentine's Day that the blizzard hit. It was either 2015 or 2016 because we had cold snap both years in a row.
It was Valentine's Day.
Okay. Was that 2015?
Yes.
Valentine's Day? That was 2016.
Okay.
But it also happened in 15. But anyway.
Well, whatever. I just remember this.
2015
the wine trivia night, and this couple came in, and for Valentine's Day, they were wine club members, and they had promised themselves that they were going to do a walk on the beach, so on Horseneck, have a romantic walk on the beach while drinking the RJR, and then they were going to stop by the winery because we still had extended hours then, and they didn't know we were doing wine trivia night, so they came in, and the husband, he had a beard, and it was like, it was a blizzard, it was full of sand, and it still had like ice crystals on it. And they came in and they like had their drink, but it was like,
Sorry.
whoa,
We're in downtown New Bedford.
random.
Oh, okay.
But it was so shocking to me that they were like super tough and like they were seeing through the romantic Valentine's Day event, but it was horrifying because we were all remembering how warm it got the day before and then how dramatic that blizzard was the next day.
That was 2016, and that was the problem with that winter. It was warm all the way around except for 2 nights, Valentine's Day and the next day. And that did a whole winter's worth of damage, just those 2 nights. As opposed to the winter before, which was 14-15. That was when it started snowing, January 29th.
Yes.
It didn't stop snowing until I think May 10th.
Yep.
When everybody was shoveling the snow off the roofs of the houses.
Yep.
So that was equally as bad.
Yeah.
But,
so that was like sustained, just
correct.
Okay.
So that's why we grow grapes on the coast, because in general it's warmer here. The Atlantic Ocean acts as a big heat capacitor or a heat sink. In the wintertime, that water tends to take the fluctuations out of the days and the nights, and it tends not to get as cold here, nor as warm. So when it's that week in January at 70 degrees in Worcester, it's sort of everybody's in t-shirts in January. Here it's probably 45 and foggy. So that's important that it doesn't warm up greatly here, because the vines deacclimate very quickly, and it takes them a while to reacclimate to the cold. In the springtime, that the Atlantic Ocean, the water is cold, so it keeps us cooler longer. It delays our spring bud break, and so it gets us beyond the chance of a spring frost. In the fall, the Gulf Stream, we're a south-facing coast. That Gulf Stream comes in close to the bottom of the Cape Cod, Long Island Sound, coastal Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts, which is all south-facing. That Gulf Stream kind of gets caught in here. That warm water keeps us warmer longer into the fall, and sometimes we won't have a killing frost until Thanksgiving some years. So it lengthens our season out in the fall. It's a double-edged sword. In the summertime, we kind of have that beach effect going into place, where it might be, again, Taunton or Worcester as an example, 90, 95 there. And as you come down Route 88 going towards the beach, you can feel it getting cooler. And we're about 3 miles away from the Atlantic Ocean, so we're kind of in that sort of down that trajectory of getting cooler. We're not like Horseneck Beach, where once you get there, it's 78 or 75, but we're, on a 90-degree day in Taunton, it might be, 82, 85 here. So we lose some of that heat. Most of the red vinifera varieties, or the Bordeaux varieties, take more growing degree days than we have here. So things like Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, Merlot, Zinfandel, Malbec, we're not a red wine growing region. And so we're hoping to kind of maybe not be cowboys and break that mold, but at least be able to make a full-bodied red here and be proud of it. Granted, it's not a signature name, but better than making a weak, anemic Cabernet Sauvignon. So
segue into the Marquette, because that is a red grape.
Right.
So talk a little bit about why it is so big and fruity and juicy.
I don't know. That's the nature of the vine. Well, the other red that we do grow 2 other reds here. I'm not directly answering a question, but they're cooler climate reds that are not grown in Bordeaux. They're grown in Burgundy and in Champagne. That's Pinot Noir and Pinamonye. Pinamonye is a mutation of Pinot Noir. Meunier in French means, does anybody speak French? So
I got nothing.
I forgot. I used to know.
It means miller in French. And Pinamonye, here's a growing tip. What color is that? Is it green? Can you tell?
Kind of whitish.
There you go. White, which is very different than, hang on.
Hold that thought. I think
I thought it was yellow.
There we go.
Well, this is just the growing tip of Marquette.
Yeah.
Which is like a yellowish green, and this is, see the difference?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So white, which Miller meaning white flower. That's how they get to be Pinamonye. But it's was first noted as a mutation of Pinot Noir back in the 1800s. It's actually the third grape grown in Champagne for Champagne. There's only 3 grapes allowed grown: Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, Pinamonye. Obviously, Champagne is white. 2/3 of the grapes grown for Champagne are red. And the way you get a white wine from a red grape in general is that both Pinot Noir and Pinamonye have got white juice inside the berry, and you squeeze the grapes and you separate it from the skins. If you wanted to make a red wine from Pinot Noir, Pinamonye, you do what would be traditionally done in red wine making, is you just crush the berries up and you put the whole berries into the fermenter and ferment it with the skins. And the fermentation process extracts the colors from the skins, and you wind up with a red wine. And so we have made red Pinot Noir here 3 times since they started growing. Our first crop of Pinot Noir was 1988. And so we've done it 3 times. Corey, do you remember the years? 2011, 2013?
Not 2011. I think 2013, 2016, 2017, 2015, 2013, 20.
I shouldn't have asked.
No, I think it was.
You didn't know there was going to be a test, Rob.
15 and 16, because 16 and 17. We just ran out of the 17.
No. 2012 and 13. I'm positive. And then the last year that we did it was this past year, which was 2019.
I think I'm right.
That's the rosé.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. But it's Pinot Noir, not rosé.
It is, which we generally make that every year. It's not every year we can make a red out of those 2 varieties. And so this is a climate that's much better tailored to making a champagne or a sparkling wine from that fruit than a red. So we wanted to find a vine that we could grow and make a red, full-bodied red out of every year. And I know we've been focusing on Marquette. The other variety that we're growing is Petite Pearl, which both of these varieties were first grown in 1989 in the University of Minnesota. And
Minnesota. I'm from there.
Petite Pearl also has a parentage of 8 different species of grapes. And we're still learning. Today we have the red from the Farmer's Fizz Red that you guys have. There you go. And that's out very shortly. It'll probably be out this week. And a whole box. Don't drink that one today.
I did taste it. It's very tasty.
We have the Marquette and Petite Pearl are still in, other than the fizz component. This is a 2019. Other than the fizz component, the rest of that vintage is still all in barrels. And so that will get bottled as a red wine November of this year. And it will be released sometime next year as a red. And like I said, we also have a Pinot Noir red from 2019 as well. So we will have quite a bit of red wine coming up that will be released.
Rob, my understanding is that when we bottle a red, it's because it was we didn't need it for something else, and it was an exceptionally warm summer, warm growing season, lots of growing days. Is that right?
Well, that's been the way with the Pinot Noir. It's been that way. You can't do it the year. Whereas with the Marquette, we're hoping to be able to do it year in and year out.
Okay.
It's not really ripening. For instance, last year we picked it about the 18th of September at 25 or 26% sugar or degrees Brix, whereas we struggled to get the Pinot Noir to 20, 21 degrees Brix by middle to end of October. So it's ripens much more quickly, and you wind up with higher alcohol content.
Okay.
The Marquette ripens more quickly.
Yes.
And the Petite Pearl.
And the Petite Pearl. That's a little bit slower, a little bit later ripening, but neck and neck with the Marquette. Okay. And just look to the side, Petite Pearl was originally named Black Pearl, but as you can imagine, some people took exception to that, namely Black Pearl Jack Sparrow.
Oh, the Caribbean, the Pirates of the Caribbean.
Caribbean. And so they were forced to change the name to Petite Pearl.
Oh my God.
Really?
Yeah, it was a copyright infringement.
Right.
Jeez.
Yeah. It
So
would have been to call it a Black Pearl, but
Disney.
that's fair. So Rob, you also like casually dropped that you have a new Farmer's Fizz Red. I liked that you were just like, oh yeah, by the way.
that's the way you do it once.
Hey, we have a question already. Somebody picked up on it.
Yeah. Will it be on sale in time for my birthday on Monday? Question.
Probably
Rob?
not. Oh, actually, Anthi,
Yeah.
Yes, we have some available.
that's the only place you can buy this right now, and there's
So-
not much of it. There.
I'm gonna put the link in the chat for everyone. So Anthi has a very limited supply of the Farmer's Fizz Red, which Rob has graciously made available to our viewers and our audience because we want to take part in this wonderful conversation. And so because you're here listening, you get first access to the Farmer's Fizz Red. So Rob, can you tell us a little bit about
Well, Corey, you wrote the description.
it?
And I've tasted it. I can attest to the description.
All right. All right. I know we see you, Corey, but I'll give you the introduction.
Yeah.
So this is only available. Farmer's Fizz Red is only available in a 250 ml can, and it comes in 4 cans per box. And yeah, Go ahead, Corey, describe the wine.
Oh, here. Yes. Can't buy individually, unfortunately. So in a box.
1 liter.
Yep. In total, it's 1 liter. So these cans are 8.6 ounces, which is the typical pour at a restaurant would be 5 ounces, 6 ounces if you're lucky. So it's nice. It's a little bit more than what you're used to for a glass, but to have a big glass as you're, so basically you can handle that while it's still fizzy in one sitting versus opening up a bottle. Living in a maritime area, these cans are something that we all know because they're not glass. You can take it on your boat. It's very easy to put it if you need to in your pocket or in your purse or on your boat. So the utility of the medium is something that we've experienced. Rob, do you want to talk a little bit about the first iteration of the Farmer's Fizz, and as in the first way we made this?
So you mean just general Farmer's Fizz?
Like the bottle?
Okay. We're going way back.
There's a thing
So,
with that.
our first vintage of Farmer's Fizz was 2014. We had a very good year growing and had quite a bit of excess fruit, and we weren't quite sure what to do with it, whether we should.
Can I add a little insider or on the periphery of that? I remember coming to work. I was leaving work one day, and you guys were you were bringing in the Chardonnay and pressing it, and you'd been pressing Chardonnay all day. And I got to work. I worked 2 days in a row. I got to work the next day, and Bill and Paul were still working. They had worked throughout the night, and so that meant they hadn't slept, or at least if they slept, it was very little. And Bill said that you guys had broken a record. I'm assuming you had been in the fields all night long. Actually, I've never asked you about that part. But Bill, if my memory serves me right, you guys had broken a record and had brought in and pressed 65 tons of Chardonnay. Is that right?
That day or that week?
That day. I actually don't know. 65 tons is what I remember.
Yeah, well, that was part of the Chardonnay harvest. I don't remember what we had that year in total Chardonnay tons, probably over 100. But, in any way, we had a lot of extra juice. We sold a lot of fruit that year, and we didn't feel that strongly that we could sell that all as a straight Chardonnay. And so we started to dream of other things that we could call it and do with it. And we had we have a bright beer tank that we're able to make wine in and carbonate it. So we kind of it's it's a sparkling wine made in a very different method than we make all of our other sparkling wines. So the method champenoise is the method we'd always use, which is a traditional French method where we are fermenting the wine, re-fermenting the wine in the bottle, laying it down with a process called tirage for years, anywhere from 3 years to 15, 16, 17 years, and disgorging the wine, labeling the bottle, putting a cork, a wire hood on it, and a capsule. It's just a very labor-intensive, long process to make a traditional method champagne wine. And so this goes about it a different way. Basically, what we're doing is we're taking a still wine and we're carbonating it. And this is designed to be more Prosecco style, light, fun, easy drinking, quick to market type of wine. And we went through a whole bunch of different label designs with Bill, sitting in an office with Alan, myself, and Bill. You might have been in some of those meetings, Corey, but Bill kept coming back these different label designs, and finally he kind of threw everything out and started over again, and he hit it the nail on the head with the first shot with that Farmer's Fizz thing. We stuck with the name Farmer's Fizz, but the design was completely different, and we knew it right off the bat that was the right design to go with at the time. And we chose a different package. We're bottling it into a 22-ounce bomber, like a big, large beer bottle, and with a soda cap and we call it a Band-Aid. It's got like a little label over the top of it, and that has been our only package for it until we went to a 375 milliliter can last year, a 275 milliliter can this year, and the bottles are also going to be coming back. So within the next 10 days or so, we'll be releasing a new vintage of the 250 cans, a new vintage of the bottle, the 650 milliliter bottle, and also the Fizz Red in cans as well. Does that work?
Yes, the bottle thing, which you're basically saying, is that we were the first to put wine in a 22-ounce beer bomber.
We were in the
country.
The TTB. We can only sell it in Massachusetts because TTB doesn't have a checkoff box for it. So we can't get permits to send it to other states. So it's only sold in Massachusetts.
Like we were selling it for a couple years and then got a cease and desist letter saying, what? Right? Like we can't sell it out of the state anymore.
I don't remember. We could have.
I have some show and tell.
Okay.
So just so everyone knows, this is the Westport Rivers Mayflower Rose. This is the traditional champagne method that Rob was talking about earlier. It's a sparkling rosé. The RJR is also behind me. So this is a full 750 milliliter. Very labor intensive. The technique is fascinating. I've actually done the tour with Corey and learned all kinds of new vocabulary for this sparkler. And then the Farmer's Fizz Red, which we've been talking about in the 250 can. This is the or what we were calling the carbonated Prosecco style. And then this is my show and tell here, the 375 milliliter cans of the Farmer's Fizz Red. So this, we always told people, this is the equivalent of 2 bottles of wine. This is the equivalent of a bottle of wine plus a glass.
Correct.
So we've got our carbonated versions and then our traditional champagne method versions.
Yeah.
Rob was talking about earlier. Hey, I'm getting this stuff down.
Obviously, we're calling up those fun bubbles and those serious bubbles.
Yes. Serious bubbles, fun bubbles.
I mean, I love the idea, like the farmers at the end of the day cracking open a bomber of the fizz and relaxing. But when you want to, be hoity-toity, you can just then do your champagne method, which is like so exotic that like, I mean, the RJR, the Mayflower, that stuff is a vintage champagne method. You can't get any more snootier than that. So I love that.
It's delicious.
What?
It's delicious too.
It is delicious. Yeah. I was just earlier today, I was talking to some wine club members before I was, relaxing and preparing myself for this. But we were all sitting under the sycamore tree, and they were all talking about how they can't wait for the Max to come out. So that's our most snooty wine, which is named after Rob's grandfather, Max. And that takes us almost 20 years to make. Where it just sits in the barn in our winery for that long. And is this fair? We make it about every 2 years, or we release.
I think it winds up like that. Yeah, but I think the next vintage is 1999 that we're getting ready to disgorge.
Okay, that is mind blowing. It takes that long, and so to describe the flavors is ridiculous. It's such an exotic experience. Yeah, so it's a joy to be around. It's lovely to have such a complicated approach to bubbles. And speaking of complicated approach, right? I mean, very, very few places on the planet carbonate wine, and very few vineyards grow Marquette. So as much as we want to talk about how exotic the champagne methods are, our little Farmer's Fizz Red is also up there. My first approach to it, as coming from some wine industry experience, whenever I think of carbonated or bubbly red wine, I always think of Lambrusco from Italy. I know Lambrusco's in the 80s came in, was it jugs? Can someone correct me on that? Did Riuniti have a Lambrusco?
They did.
Okay, so I've bumped into a little bit of that.
That was my father's favorite. In the jug.
Okay. In the jug.
Yeah, the jug. I remember that jug.
It's part of our, part of an American experience. That's but then the Italians have this thing, and now the hipsters are starting, probably, I don't know. Was Lambrusco seen historically as kind of an easy drinking jug Riuniti thing? And over the years, they've started producing more have your pinky out, fancy Lambruscos. I know, I think I had my first champagne method Lambrusco a couple years ago. So I know they're upping they're classing things up as well. Anyone? Rob, can you weigh in on that?
No, I used to work for the importers of Riuniti, but that's as far as it goes.
What?
They have in Villa Banfi in Old Brookville, New York, has got a model estate and vineyard there. And the Marinari brothers, I think that's how you pronounce the name, I can't remember. That's where the corporate headquarters is in the United States. So that's where I first worked before I came up here to work for my dad.
Oh my gosh. I didn't even know that.
Yep, more color.
So, okay. So is it for you wine people out there to have that experience of Lambrusco in terms of jugs, or maybe more recently champagne method Lambrusco, or drier or lower sugar Lambrusco? That was my that's an easy way or a launching point when you're trying to anticipate what this tastes like. For me, when I'm judging a wine, it's usually is it refreshing? Do I want to have another sip? The bar, I'm easily pleased. I love wine. I love beer. So it was fascinating as we were talking and anticipating about the grapes being so fruity and delivering on this fruit and on the higher sugar levels when we carbonate it. Also the tannin, what was it going to taste like? It was very fascinating to try this because along with the Marquette producing more sugar, we're still in a cooler area. And usually that means higher acid. Rob, do you want to talk about that a little bit more? That we do acid so well, which means that refreshing palate cleansing. Everyone talks about, does it cleanse the palate? That's one thing that Westport Rivers just kills that. And vineyards along the south coast here in our AVA, the southeastern New England, is we do acid so well. Rob?
Yeah, I just
I
had the
pouring myself a glass right now.
I warmed up. Always drink this cold. If you drink it warm, you'll wear it. I just wore it.
Did it pour okay?
Yeah. But one of the glass.
Look how dark that is. I love that. It's such a gorgeous color. Very different, by the way. A lot of you are going to remember we did a Farmer's Fizz Rosé last year. So we're not doing that this year. This is a totally new product, Farmer's Fizz Red. So this is brand new.
The rosé last year was made out of Pinot Noir.
Say that again?
The Fizz Rosé last year was made out of Pinot Noir and Pinamonye.
I did enjoy it while it lasted.
Yep.
I did as well, but I'm ready to have a relationship with the Farmer's Fizz Red. Like I'm okay with that. So can you tell us a little bit about the taste of it, Corey? The experience of Farmer's Fizz Red. Oh, or not, because I think
Corey.
Again, so I usually say, I guess Corey didn't like my question when something like this happens. So,
right.
Rob, can you tell us about the taste of Farmer's Fizz Red?
How about I read to you Corey's description?
Sure.
All right. Okay. This is going to knock you over the head. You're like a boozy berry popsicle in the summer. Our Prosecco-styled red gushes cocktail cherry and black currant juice in one sip. Bubbles fizz. The can's all wet. Hang on.
Sure.
Plus, it's getting dark out here. Bubbles fizz, a sprightly kiss of deliciousness that refreshes on a hot day. Grippy and chewy, your red wine desires will be satisfied. Naturally fermented, 100% Marquette, sustainably grown, buy local, buy delicious. Cheers.
Well, cheers.
I don't know if that's what you were looking for, but
No, that was.
I'm suffering from my midsummer allergies. So
you're doing a good job.
I'm not smelling too much.
You're doing a good job. So I know we have some of the other wines that we were referencing that I know Anthi has. Can you tell us a little bit about I think Anthi, what was it, the Mayflower Rosé?
There's the Mayflower Rosé, which we talked a little bit about with the champagne method. The one that we haven't talked a lot about is the Pinot Noir Rosé, and I know Marco did a live stream from the vineyards maybe a week or two ago, because I was actually I learned that this is topped off with Pinamonye, even though it's 95% Pinot Noir.
That's right, and that wine is actually Marco's first soup to nuts wine he made at Westport Rivers.
Did mention that.
Did he? All right, and actually this the Farmer's Fizz Red is the second one.
Oh, congratulations to him.
Everything from 2019 on is something that he's handled from start to finish. Like the Mayflower Rosé is a combination of a lot of people. My brother Bill, Paul Goodchild, Marco, Chris Goyer, all had their hands in the winemaking aspect of that. So it's a real community effort, I guess you could say.
Yeah, we did have the opportunity to talk to Chris probably about a month ago as well with Corey, and he walked us through the S series as well as the honey and spice, which a lot of these we were using in cocktails. I know that Corey would she be on now, would be segueing to one of the cocktails, which is a blooming summer.
I'm waiting for her to show up down here.
Right, she's gonna photobomb you.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure she is driving to the second location where you are.
Right. He doesn't know where I am, so I'm waiting for my phone to ring. No.
Well, in the interim, for our viewers,
Bring that up,
I'm going to show you.
There we are.
Blooming Summer Cocktail, which is what and Anthi, if you go to your left, we can actually see you. Rob will be forever hidden. So the Blooming Summer is a cocktail that Corey put together for us and for your enjoyment. And it has 2 parts of the Mayflower Rose, which Anthi is showing you in her screen, and 1 part of the S Vermouth, which if you were part of our cocktail conversation that we had a couple months ago that we were just referencing, we dove deep in the magical and mysterious and misunderstood world of vermouth. So 2 parts Mayflower Rosé, 1 part S Vermouth, and a generous spritz of lemon. And so we recommend—
I don't have one.
That's okay. We'll forgive you. We recommend that you garnish that with your choice of edible flower for extra added beautification, really, just to make it look pretty. And you can serve it in rocks or in a stemmed glass, and you can enjoy that drink. And we'll post this online as well, so you can, grab a picture of the screen right now if you'd really like to make the Blooming Summer tonight. And otherwise, we'll share it online as well. What's also great is that you can get the ingredients for the Blooming Summer, of course, at Westport Rivers. And if you're close to the drawing room, it's also available at the drawing room. We actually have a rosé bundle available that you can snag in addition to the cans of the Farmer's Fizz Red. And right now we have Rob talking to Corey.
Liz, I think we have a question that I'm going to flash up here. I think it'll be for Rob when he gets.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we have to unmute him. He's talking to us.
Okay, I'm ready.
Perfect.
Okay, so I think this question is for you.
Go
on
ahead.
The screen.
It says, a little off topic, but any chance there will be a second winemaking opportunity? I have the first one racked in my basement.
Second winemaking. I need more. You're talking about what we did last summer with the Riesling?
I'm going to go with yes.
I would say yes, but I don't know.
Well, I guess that's more of a Corey question, but we were supposed to get together to fill you guys in. We did a home winemaking kit last year.
Oh yeah, she was talking about this. Yep, go ahead.
We had maybe, I don't know, how many people?
100.
100?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was quite successful. I remember her talking about it and filling orders.
We had 100 people who each got about, I think, I don't know, it was 3 or 4 gallons of Riesling juice, and the intent was and some yeast. The intent was that they were going to go home, they would make the wine, and we would reconvene this summer to have a wine competition, wine tasting. And we haven't pushed it too much because of COVID, so we're not quite sure when that's going to be. But save a bottle, because at some point we will have this competition, wine judging contest. It's not if, it's when.
That's so great.
We probably won't be doing it again this year, but we would do it again sometime in the future. And here's Corey. We're talking about the Riesling.
Hey! We had a question about the winemaking kit, Corey.
I was listening.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been weird because we've never done this before. I know there was technological catastrophic situations with using Google groups and not seeing each other. COVID definitely got in the way. Because when people were starting to rack, February, even January, COVID was starting to, so I suppose, we can't do a festival really.
Well, wine won't go bad. So
yeah,
at some point we're going to have a competition when this all blows over, I would imagine.
Yeah.
But the question originally was, will there be a second opportunity to make wine, which I would say yes, but probably not this year.
Yeah.
We have a participant who has the first one racked in their basement.
Oh,
that's where the question came from.
I'll drink it all.
Who is that?
Well, there you are.
I don't recognize the name. I know some of you have emailed me. That was a hit. That's Pop 713. I don't recognize you.
So Corey,
But
Rob did an
I'm
excellent
assuming
job.
A what?
Rob did an excellent job with your fizz red description. He read it with gusto.
Because right when your computer battery died, I said, Corey, can you tell us about the
I
experience?
know I heard that, and I was like, curses. I mean, I did not. I finished this, but I also sent, when these descriptions happen, I send them to everyone. So it's not me. It's always a group thing. Plus, just less than 2 hours prior, we had all tasted it together and we're talking about it. So these are always a group.
I think
the
boozy red berry popsicle hits it perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, popsicles are great. We knew we were going to be releasing this and when it was going to be warm out, and that's like, for me, when I see these little cans, first I always just get excited. I just love them. I don't know why, but I'm not alone. I always have these fantasies of taking these on a beach. So the idea of having a boozy popsicle right when I need it most, if I'm probably baking on a beach, is like the best thing ever. For me, whether it is our RJR, the fancy champagnes, our just any of our wines, I always want them to be like a palate cleansing food wine. Like, they always are doing some sort of thing. Not always, but like often when I'm eating, I prefer wine because it just does more with the food. It cleanses the palate. I certainly don't eat and drink like this all the time. A lot of times I just want some Chardonnay or I want some whatever. But most of the time when I'm looking for the wines, I'm wanting an acid and something magical to happen, whether it's just to refresh me or to do something really interesting with the food. Because this is sweeter, and for right now, I think it's fair to say that dry heads are the most, like, for me, intimidating people out there in the world. And when you say anything sweet, they tend to be like, that's not for me. And I'm always like, no, but wait, because this is like the best of both worlds. So even if you're a sweet drinker, even if you're a dry drinker, this absolutely satisfies. And if you want it to be a food wine, it's got the acid and complexity to be it. If you are sitting on a beach or on your boat and you need something to refresh you, something that won't, that's not out of glass, this is so perfect. If you want something, if you're a sweet drinker, you're not eating at all, and you just want something absolutely delicious, this is so your like jam. This is amazing. And the fruit on this, it is so berry-like. The currant in it is so gorgeous. It's still a new baby wine. So like all wines, I mean, these things develop complexity as they age. These are meant to be, we're going to blow through this. Maybe, hopefully we'll have some into the winter when we need it most, but I mean, we might blow through this year yet. I don't know. This is a new product. I've been selling the fizz since it came out. And I know sometimes, toward when we had our 2015-16 years, we were low on wine and the fizz would just go very quickly. So now that these new baby vines are finally cropping enough, we have enough wine to last. But I mean, this might go. It's so, at the end of the day, it's so pleasurable. It is just like, you don't really need words. I mean, the boozy popsicle currant thing, that's fun and everything, but you don't need to read the description. It's just pleasurable. So,
yeah, well, and it's a new grape and a new product. So it's the first wine that's coming from the Marquette grape, correct?
Is it? Yeah, we've kind of added a little bit here and there, but this is 100, or
this is
the first 100%.
Yeah, and then from what Rob told us earlier, there'll be a red released in the spring, a still wine.
Yeah,
with a Marquette. So I'm very excited about it, and the one taste that I did have of the fizz red was delicious.
I'm very excited, and I'm
And
jealous.
I'm envious that you're drinking it right now.
Yeah, I'm very jealous that I'm very far away from a can of Farmer's Fizz Red, but I have to go to the drawing room because I have not that I have
Liz,
to,
we
but
live 15 minutes away from you.
no, I know you're you're also far away from me right now, but I have to go to the drawing room to pick up a Lift Up Local box that I purchased. And at the same time, I think I'm going to be purchasing some Farmer's Fizz Red because I'm a huge devotee of the Farmer's Fizz in general. So, you know, you had me at the cans at first, and then you had me at the taste, and then because I'm in marketing, I love the design, and then by the way,
Tractor.
it's just magical. So, like, I'm your audience, and I'm all in.
Rob, how long did it take for you to sit while they rendered your image for this? No?
No, my brother used to blame our daughter Christina for doing the artwork on this, but it actually that's 100% Bill. A sketch.
By the way, you guys didn't tell me that was a joke, and for like a year, I told people that Christina drew this. So like maybe it was, and then one day they were like, "Oh, that's a joke." So, Christina, yeah.
Sorry about that.
Oh, this is great.
Yeah, and just to so this will be released in the next 10 days or so.
I was looking at that last palette, and we're down to like 2 rows. So
okay,
it'll
so
probably be next week sometime.
Next week sometime. The Farmer's Fizz in a bottle, so the Fizz White, that will also then, after being gone for about a year, that will be back as well. And we're also for you on a boat, or for folks who want to bring it on the beach, we're also going to have it in the 250 cans as well. So a lot of this is playing around with, you know, the cans versus the bottles, and yeah, trying new things. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to our in-person tasting next month, Corey.
Yeah.
Distant,
of course.
Yeah, distant, of course, but I think we had penciled that in for August 29th.
Yep, August 29th. And then, Anthi, we've got, should we talk a little bit about the blooming summer, the summer's bloom cocktail?
Oh, yes, we did do that. We flashed it up while you were away. And I did my, I did not dive into the S series. I did share it with everybody. So we did flash it up. We did cover it. We actually indicated that we could send it out and or post it so that people would have access to it.
A lot of the, like, I don't like to, I think it's expensive to develop your bar. You know, I don't, like, a bottle of chartreuse is $65. Like, I don't like to have a lot of different things. One thing that our vermouths do is in one bottle have all this complexity, all these botanicals, great acidity. So with this new cocktail, what I like to do is basically dump the bottle of wine, in this case would be the Mayflower Rose, dump the bottle of the S, or it's very forgiving. So you can add this to your liking, and then, you know, the generous squish of lemon. So yeah,
with an edible but not poisonous flower.
Yes, watch your floral. Or if it's a decoration, that's fine. Just don't eat all the flowers you're gonna be using, whatever's in season.
So are you guys getting inundated by
bugs?
We're that.
Could you tell?
Yeah.
And then we're low on battery power, unfortunately, here in the vines.
I think that's okay, because I do have to say this has been a delightful conversation. I love that you guys were so willing to try to take us into the vines with you, and we you know, we prayed to the internet gods, and they were on our side. But the computer battery gods have let us know that our time has run out.
I do want to say, like, a lot of people don't realize how big we are. We are the largest vineyard in New England. Most people get to go to our tasting room, which is got a lot of lawn, and you can see, as far as the eye can see, vines. But it's such a joy being able to go out here. I mean, 80 acres is a lot. And so I don't know. I would love in the future if we could take people out in the vines. Maybe a little private
Socially
tour,
distant.
socially distanced, but you
Get a row.
you feel like you're in a different country. I mean, that's already the case when you just pull up on our driveway. It feels like you're in Europe, says the New York Times. But it's like crazy coming out here, and you're surrounded by all this vineyard. It's a powerful thing. So it was lovely being able to come here in the vines right now. That's
Have you started tours again, or are tours not available yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. Are you is that phase 4 or what is that? We don't know.
Not sure yet, but we're really trying to learn how to redo our retail business and social distance. So we're doing one thing at a time. Our lawns are open. You can come sit and enjoy a glass of wine. We've got a food truck here Fridays and Saturdays, which we have our own food trailer, which will be opening up soon. That'll be here Monday through Thursday.
Vine to Table Dinner.
Vine to Table Dinner, which is
July 25th.
July 25th, which are there still tickets? There's a few
There's
tickets
a few.
left to that. That's a picture of our lawn.
It's much bigger than that as well. It's so big. There's so much area to walk around.
We do our Sunset Music Series we just started doing last week. I'm not sure the weather will allow us to do it tomorrow or not. We'll see. The NOAA doesn't seem to really know what to make it storm.
We have fingers crossed for tomorrow to be.
Yeah. And so that's also socially distanced. So the tickets are very limited to that. They get released every Tuesday at about 1:00 in the afternoon.
Okay.
So there's a certain number of seasons tickets that we've already sold. And so it depends upon how many of those seasons ticket holders RSVP. And then we get that number, and then we're able to sell so many extra tickets in addition to that. And that's Tuesdays at about 1 p.m. Off our website.
Yeah, that's right.
Tastings and tours at some point.
Maybe tasting tours in the vineyard.
Yeah.
Like way back.
We'll have our, we'll keep an eye on, as things open, but until then, we really appreciate you guys doing this virtual tour, tasting, Marquette, deep dive, geek out, farmers, fizz, red product launch conversation with us.
All about the Marquette. We have to do cheers.
Yeah, it was really delightful. So thank you guys. I think I have like a little drop left. Thank you. Cheers to everyone who's out there joining us. We appreciate you. We thank you for your support. Thank you to Rob and Corey as we cheers in our screens, and Anthi for hosting us. And everyone will be in touch. We'll be in touch soon. Stay safe. Be well. Have fun. Drink some fizz.
Good night.
Bye.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.